Hey guys, Tanya Wills from Manhattan Birth Midwife with Cancer. Welcome to the Cancer Project. Today I'm talking about my review of chemo treatment number 1. So the chemotherapy that I had a week ago Thursday, so today is Sunday, so I'm about, 10 days or 9 days out from my first chemo treatment. And to be totally honest, about a day or two ago, I started to feel 100% normal, which is awesome. And I had my first chemo treatment a week ago Thursday, and that treatment is I'm doing 4 cycles of adriamycin and Cytoxan, or AC, or the nickname for it is Red Devil chemo. Because, we need to be scared about more shit. It's not to say that chemo isn't a huge, gigantic deal. It definitely has had a huge impact on my body and on the way things have gone for me this first round. But I just wanted to share with you in case you are facing Red Devil or AC treatment. So I'm doing 4 rounds every other week of AC, and then 4 rounds of dense dose Taxol, which I'll talk about when I get there. But so far for me, here's my review of AC round 1. While you're getting your AC, they also give you a dose of steroids and a long-acting dose of an anti-nausea medication. So, chemotherapy sort of has this reputation, which I think is very accurate, of, having people just kind of wind up with their faces in the toilet for a few days. And I think for some people that does still happen. But I think for the vast majority of people, what they've done nowadays, in case you knew somebody, I'm thinking about my grandmother 30 years ago and how difficult this was for her. I'm quite certain she had the same medication that I have. So what they've done now is they've really figured out how to manage a lot of the side effects so you can function on some level. And I did. I wasn't catching babies, and we'll talk about that later, but I definitely was functioning and I worked. So here's what happened. So I got my chemotherapy treatment. The adriamycin is a 10-minute push, and that's the red that they push into the IV. And then the other treatment that I have, the Cytoxan, goes over a pump into the IV. My particular cancer center, Memorial Sloan Kettering, does not do ports. They just use vascular access when they can. I think for people who need ports, they get ports, but it's not an automatic thing. And quite honestly, I'm super excited about that. The thought of getting a port for me, look, I know people love their ports. I was just so happy I didn't have to have another freaking procedure. So these nurses are like, oh my gosh, like they are so good at venipuncture. It's really fantastic to be around nurses that are like on their game. These are nurses that have incredible skill in terms of actually delivering the medication and doing the venipuncture and all of that. But they also have incredible skill in terms of providing you with the holistic model of care, which is basically what a nurse does, right? A nurse takes care of the whole person. If someone is admitted to the hospital, they're basically admitted there for nursing care, right? So the nurses there are incredible. I had an amazing nurse. She found out that I was a midwife, and of course she's trying to get pregnant, so we had a great time. It took me about 90 minutes to get my treatment, and after your treatment, they have a very strict set of medications that they recommend that you take to help you with side effects. So each day for 3 days, I took a dose of steroids, and I also at night took a medication that is an anti-nausea medication. That's sort of like a secondary effect of this medication. The primary effect of this medication, what it's really normally used for, is that it's an antipsychotic. And who couldn't use an antipsychotic from time to time? So one of the things that happened when I got the Cytoxan is that I felt like my brain felt like it had like a big cloud in it. It was just like kind of like, whoa, and they also gave me steroids. So I just felt super happy at the end of chemo. And I went out to lunch. I had like kind of no appetite. I felt a little speedy. I had like half of a turkey burger and a salad. And then I came home, and then I went to Pilates, and I take my Pilates at Mind Body Aware Studios, and I'll put the link in here if I can, so you can go see Kristen for Pilates. Anyway, so I went to Pilates. one of the things that happened to me in my chemo is that somebody came into the room and invited me to participate in an exercise study for the duration of my treatment. We already know that exercise helps people that are going through chemo and helps people with better outcomes from their cancer treatment. And I knew I was going to be slowing down my work really significantly, so I thought this was like a fantastic idea. And part of the study is that you get a personal trainer. So I'll talk about that in another video, but I'm really excited about it. So when I got home from Pilates, my friend Sarah met me to hang out with me. My brain was really slow and I was really sleepy, but my nausea was pretty much under control. One of the things that I found when I was at Pilates is that if I did anything laying down or anything kind of slower, like stretching, I was a lot more queasy. But once I got my heart rate going, my queasiness really went down. And to be totally honest, I had steroids on board, so I was just killing it on Pilates that day. I remember walking home from Pilates and just like going as fast as I could to keep the nausea down. But when I got home, they also have an as needed nausea medication that you can take, which is another antipsychotic. So I took that, and it worked. It worked in like 10 minutes. It was pretty incredible. And then for dinner, I think I had toast. Like, it was not a whole lot. I kind of was a little slower than I normally would be. So here are some of the side effects that they say that you will experience on this medication. Number one is nausea. I definitely had nausea on and off this week. As long as I stayed on top of my meds, I did okay. You take the medication for 3 days and then it's just kind of as needed. And I do sort of have that like, that, I don't know, that home birther mentality, which is like, I don't want to take medicine if I don't need it. And I want to like have a ginger chew instead and like this kind of thing. Chemo nausea is like no match for a ginger chew. I mean, it helps me while I'm getting to my pill, So my advice for chemo nausea would be, don't wait for anything, stay ahead of it, do what they say. They have really, really been working with people and their side effects around chemo for a long time, and the best thing that we can do is learn from their wisdom. We don't need to rediscover this for ourselves. Having chemo is not a natural process in the body, so what the medication does is it gives us a chance at a more normal life while we're on chemo. So for that, I am grateful. I'm going, hey, I'm a midwife. You guys are curing cancer. You do you. I'll take your advice, right? So that's what I'm doing. A couple of other things for the nausea that was recommended to me were green apples. I didn't have any green apples and I couldn't remember to get any green apples because another thing that happens from the medication is chemo brain, which I'll get to next. So I didn't try any green apples, but I did take the medication as needed when I was out. My nausea got better and better. I did decide maybe 4 days after my chemo that I was going to go to Brooklyn for the day and see clients, and riding in the backseat of a car was an incredibly bad idea. So I did wind up taking some pills that day, but then the 5th day I didn't need any pills at all, which was really great. The nausea for me felt like kind of an ongoing morning sickness. So if you've had morning sickness where you didn't throw up, but you just kind of had like a low-grade nausea all the time and you wanted to eat crackers and, things like that, that's kind of what it felt like to me. It's definitely not super pleasant. I would much rather feel like I feel now, which is like I can just eat a totally normal diet and just not think about my stomach. So that's unpleasant. But all that being said, I have found it this round to be manageable. So I did make it through all of my days. I didn't have to give up on anything. I saw all of my clients and I made it. The second side effect that they report is chemo brain, which I definitely had. So this was a little bit scary to me. My brain felt really foggy. I think also maybe from the antipsychotics, it felt I just felt like I was on vacation. That is a good feeling for me because I'm a person who has sort of like a low level of anxiety all the time, trying to keep all the things that I need to do straight. And I was delivered from that with these medications. And that felt really nice. I did tell like my closest colleagues that I couldn't remember anything. So if I had a thing like I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to send you a receipt. And then like any time went by, I would have just totally forgotten about it. And then if you reminded me, I wouldn't really care that I forgot and I would just do it immediately. So I didn't feel any guilt about my forgetfulness. I just felt like there was nothing at stake, and that felt really good. I really liked that. It also helps because, you know, I'm going through cancer treatment, and it helps to just sort of have the whole edge taken off of the entire thing. I did write to somebody to say, like, how long does this chemo brain last? I was really worried about it because my brain, I feel like, is a terrific thing, and I feel like I have an excellent brain, and I really didn't want to feel like I was losing track of things, and that I was permanently going to have like cognitive things going on with my brain. But a couple of days ago, I felt like 95% normal. So I have a lot of hope. They do say that the chemo builds up in your system, but that the cognitive issues that can happen are temporary. So I feel really confident that that's going to be okay. One of the things that I decided after my chemo is that every day I would tell myself that I am a person with minimal side effects, that my side effects are manageable and that I can handle them and I'm going to be fine. So that's been my attitude throughout this, is to just keep going and to be as normal as I possibly can. Another side effect that they report with AC chemo is mouth sores. So I haven't had any mouth sores, but I will tell you what my mouth has felt like the last 2 days, and I've been using Biotine and trying to keep my mouth kind of moist, is that it feels like I ate some like I kind of injured my mouth on some really crusty bread or something like that. Like it just feels kind of dry, and the mucosa is damaged because it's the rapidly dividing cells that heal the mucosa in your mouth, and all the other places that you have mucosa in your body are being killed off by the chemo. So so your mouth is one of those places. So far so good, but stay tuned. I feel like this might get worse. Another side effect is vaginal dryness. Yes, we have lube. Everything's okay. So I'll keep you posted about how that's going. I've been really worried about all the sexual stuff that comes with going through cancer treatment, because it's really multifaceted, and I'll keep you posted. But so far everything is like, I'm definitely noticing a difference, and lube has been working fine. But so I'm able to use everything and have sex and do all the normal things that I've been able to do. But I don't know how that's going to go down the line. So I'm worried about that, and I'm going to talk about it here. Another side effect that they talk about is from the injection of Neulasta that I received the day after my chemo. So Neulasta is a drug that they give you to help your white blood cells recover in the second week after your chemo, so they can give you the chemo closer together. And the side effect that they report is bone pain. I didn't really know what that was going to mean. Here's what it meant for me with the first dose. What it meant was that I felt like somebody bruised my chest. Like my ribs and my sternum felt like maybe I don't know, maybe I was moving furniture and used my chest and bruised it. When I touched it, I felt it. I also felt it in my wrists, but that's really the only place where I felt it. So people say that you can take Claritin or Tylenol or ibuprofen for that. I didn't take anything for that. It was not a big deal for me, so I just kind of kept going. One more thing about the Chemo Brain is that last week I did teach on Sunday. I taught the breastfeeding class, and I taught a class on the anatomy of childbirth, and Sarah sat next to me, and I asked her that if I didn't make any sense to please pop in at any time. She told me afterwards that I made perfect sense, but interestingly enough, the breastfeeding class that I teach has a PowerPoint that goes with it. So that was very easy for me. When I lost track of my thoughts, I could just go off of the PowerPoint. And then when I taught the anatomy of childbirth class, that's something, I have some slides that go with it, but I really am creating it as I go. So Sarah definitely was kind of reminding me of a few things. One of the things that I forgot to tell people about was when to go to the hospital. That's kind of a major childbirth thing that people will come to class for. So it kind of gives you an idea of I couldn't store a lot of information in my brain. And of course, the most famous side effect that people expect is for their hair to fall out. As you can see, it's still here, but I think it's going to go in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so I'm feeling really, really good right now, and my next chemo treatment is in 3 days, so I will keep you posted about how it's going and what's going on with my hair. And thanks for tuning in. If you like what you're hearing, or you're in cancer treatment, or you're gonna have cancer treatment and you wanna know what it's gonna be like, please subscribe. If you just wanna follow me, see what's going on with me, there it is. And I'll see you next time.